I'd like to ask you. I appreciate that because you do speak a fair amount during these meetings, and then things like this happen where the public doesn't get to say their piece because we're business owners and parents, and these meetings that last 3 to 4 hours are impossible for them to us to go into engaging in the democratic process and say what our piece is. And what I wanted to say was that I support the statements made by Michelle and by you, where we have great intentions for this village. And looking at this dynamic, you're assuming that there's nefarious purposes in it or that there's some ill intention, and that's not the case. We all want to do right by what's going on here, and a little bit of trust that we're coming at this with good intention as opposed to trying to control everything that's happening. It wouldn't work well. So it doesn't mean that we weren't going to come to you, because that was not the intention. We're working hard to get it done. I'm happy she brought her opinion here because it was heard. Like, it's working. And I feel like the conversation and the dynamic that happens here is implying that it's not, and it really is. So I feel like we're all here with the same process, the same purpose, and we need to work together. And this bickering doesn't help the businesses help you get what you want. And we want to help, and we're very motivated, and we want to be part of this. But when we hear this kind of stuff, it's very, I don't know, disappointing and not energizing. And we want to help, and we want to be part of it. And we want to communicate to you, but it is a big thing, and it can't be seen by all the eyes all the time. Like, that's impossible to do. So.
Name and address just for the record.
Yes, please. Natalia Martinez, 9 Pheasant Run in Milton.
Thank you.
But owner of Play Hollow at 40 Front Street.
Yep. Thank you. Appreciate that.
But I want
other people in the public, so I want to get through that. We have a hand back up if you want. Go ahead. You should just use a string.
All right. Keith Lewis, allowing to talk.
Keith Lewis, 38 East High Street, Ballston Spa. I was appointed by Larry Woolbright to the Historic Commission. And as I'm listening to this tonight, I'm disappointed that the Historic Commission wasn't involved in any way. We didn't share any information about this. We're a pretty big stakeholder. No one approached us. And I think when I listen to this, Bernadette, I really want to remind you that this is a board of 5 and that the time to do edits are probably at the beginning when there's a brainstorming session, when people contribute ideas, talk about what might work, not work, and then the committee may get some direction and break off and develop from there. But to control the flow of information and to keep out some of the most experienced and the most vested individuals and put them at the end, I don't think that's good leadership. I don't think it's good planning. I don't think it's what the village wants. And I think especially from my position, looking at it as something that can change the trajectory to improve the village, to improve the quality of life for everyone. I think we do want as much input, and we'd ask that you all work together and involve one another, and that there not be politicking. It's not appropriate. So thanks very much.
Okay, Gina Morosi, name and address.
Gina Morosi, 10 Old Glory Lane, Ballston Spa. I'm always amused by the fact that that man lectures anybody about anything, but
let's keep it to the
that's
facts.
neither here nor there. First of all, Sean, you don't represent the people that voted you in, you represent the entire village, okay? The entire village. Those that voted for you and those that didn't. That's your job. Number 2, you have a panel that's working the committee that's working on this diligently. They all are here telling you this. Why are you trying to rush the product and not get the best product you can possibly get from them? If they need a few more days, give them a few more days. Do you want this grant or do you not want this grant? Are you going to try to put boulders in the path, or are you going to try to make the flow as easy as possible? Andy stood up and said, compromise, work with us, let's get it done. Let's get it done. Don't sit there and pout because you feel you were left out. Jump in, you're now in, make it work. It's 2 million to 4 million, okay? It's not $2 to $4. This is serious benefit to this village. And if anybody puts a boulder in the way of this, I'll tell you, you will not live it down.
Chris, I know your hand was up earlier. Did you still have something?
Yeah, Bob was gonna go first.
Bob?
Bob Bush, the North Church Ed. What is the purpose of having a committee if you guys want to be involved? Isn't it the purpose to get the recommendation for you guys to vote on? You guys want to be involved in every little step, every little thing for what? Put influence on it or something? I mean, I just don't get the purpose of having a committee where you guys want to intervene on everything. My idea of getting a committee, let them do their work, they bring it to you, you guys vote. Yes, no, indifferent. You want more information? That's the time you talk, that's the time you discuss it. It's not now, it's not getting involved in the process and all the other stuff. I understand you guys want the information, I get that. But let these people do their job, that's on the committee, do their work, and give you the recommendation. And then you guys can ask for the information you guys want. It doesn't matter who got what, when, where, how, just let people do their job.
Chris, I'm going to let you go if you still want to, but I do want to remind the crowd that what the intent of the public comment session for this was to look at the positives and negatives of our downtown central business district, so that we had a listening session essentially with the community over and above what the survey is already saying. So we want to make sure we get some of that as well in there. That was the intent of this. We derailed yet again, Chris. Not you, Chris Biddle, but Chris behind you. There's 2 Chris's my line of sight over there. It's kind of fun.
Chris View, 6 Gallon Drive. This village is blessed with the downtown that it has. I mean, if you want to go for a drink, there's plenty of places to go for a drink. If you want to go to dinner, there's plenty of places to go to dinner. You want to park to bring your kids, there's a park right on the corner. This whole park is turning up nicely. It's beautiful before it was getting even better by the day. And again, it's people in this village who are doing just that and making it happen. There's great places. Again, they always said, they told me anyways, that this was a great place to raise a family. So we moved here in 2018. Again, I've never regretted the decision. I can walk to most anything. I want to get a haircut, I can walk there. If I need to use a pharmacy, it may not be my pharmacy choice, but there's one there. If I want my kids to come down and have access to the library, they can walk in distance, and I can trust that they're going to get there safely, because there's crosswalks, there's ways to get there. And there's plenty to look along the way. It's a beautiful village to walk through. I work at West High in the county building there for the state, and sometimes I share a vehicle with my wife. If I got to walk home, love walking through downtown. It is absolutely gorgeous. The downside again would probably be, yes, the sidewalks. You need some improvement down there. Parking absolutely is also something of a concern. More so when I know some businesses expanded out where there was outdoor dining out into the road. There was a bit of a choke point there. And then some of the businesses suffered from that, whether it was Front Street Deli. If you went to go pick up pizza, it was going to be pretty difficult to find a spot to park and run in and grab your pizza. And again, that can make or break some businesses. So I would say that would be the downside. But as far as the upside, there are so many there. You look at Town of Mill, and it's a nightmare to walk there anywhere in the Town of Mill. And basically have to drive. Same with Malta. They have that little plaza over there, but that's not family friendly. It's a bunch of high-rise buildings with no history, no taste, no flavor. First Fridays here in Westfield Park was a huge thing that attracted us. The holiday parade that comes through. Now the school's instituting the senior parade for the seniors to drive through. It is huge. My kids have loved growing up here, and I have never regretted the decision to move here when we did in 2018. So I think this grant would just spell a huge potential for the village, especially just even having Kevin in here with some of the ideas he threw out there with fiber. Working with the Department of Labor, I can tell you the growing trend for most businesses now moving to more of a hybrid model. I'm seeing people that normally would have to move their entire family to other states, able to live here in New York. Maybe they have to commute once every 3 months to Arizona, to California, to wherever it may be, but they can keep their family in New York where there are 4 seasons. And there's plenty right here in this village. And when you have the option to grow that fiber optic and have even an announcement. So if I sign in for the free Wi-Fi, an announcement immediately pops up. And if we have a volunteer committee like Friends of Wiswell Park, we can post something there. Hey, come down. We're having a cleanup day. We welcome your input. We welcome you to come down and volunteer to help. Or family fun events. You could definitely post it on there. I mean, in the village, we know what's going on. But there might be people just on the outskirts like I was in the town of Milton, who didn't know 3/4 of stuff that this village had to offer. So again, there's great opportunity for this grant. I'm really looking forward to hopefully it happens. And even if it doesn't, I hope this board will at least prove or vote with continuing to work with Kevin to try to get that fiber optic. I'd love to see it spread obviously beyond downtown. That gives more opportunity for the continued growth and well-being of this village, especially attracting new residents to the area. Thank you.
Chris, I do want to state for my friends in Arizona, there are 4 seasons in Arizona, hot, hotter, hottest, and oh my God, I lied, it couldn't get hotter. So there are 4 seasons there too. Anybody else in the room? Mark.
Mark Black, 10 Thompson Street. I would like to see a cultural center, a community center, a community engagement center. I've always thought that the police station, the old firehouse would be a great centrally located space. It's perfectly designed for what we want to do. The courts, the money could be used from Family New York Forward, whatever it's called, to move them and then to restore, which is what you want to do anyway. But then to show that we're using that historic property in a creative, innovative, inclusive, bipolar way.
We're very good at bipolar.
I mean, seriously, the arts have been shown and it's documented, and Hochul has said it, and you know, it's coming out that arts are an economic generator. They're putting a lot of money into the arts. I think fiber optics are great. I think painting our buildings are great, but it's not innovative. It's not a generator. The arts have shown to be a generator, and we have a good history of, you know, for the last 5 years at least, of doing community engaged projects. So we're far and above. There are lots of cute villages in this state that are very similar to ours. What we could stand out as is showing how much we have done as far as bringing the arts and bringing community engagement to the forefront. So I think that's what would be a good use of some of the money.
Thank you. Anybody else in the room want to share their thoughts, views of downtown, pros, cons, etc.? Donna Dargaris next. Go ahead.
I have to stand up.
You don't have to stand up. Just give me your address and be loud, okay?
Donna Dargaris, 64 Middle Street. I agree with, we need to work on the infrastructure, the sidewalks, or whatever, the trees that are bumping up the sidewalks. I think that by and large, our businesses have done a fantastic job on their own, improving their businesses, beautifying them. A lot of our businesses are pleasures to go into. They put a lot of time and effort into them. The worst buildings in town are the ones the village owns. I think the Village Hall is an abomination to look at it. It's an old building. You can see it from a distance. It looks okay, maybe. I know there's structural issues, but even if it was cosmetic and made the outside look nice, I'm involved with an old building, you know, the oldest building in town. We've had lots of issues. It's like an old lady. It takes an awful lot of upkeep. I won't say that. I actually talking about her husband there. I know that we've had to, you know, kind of do what we could do as we had the money. We've been lucky that our donors have been wonderfully generous with us, and we're getting piece by piece, we're getting a lot of it done. We need to do something with Village Hall to make it at least look that like it fits in with the rest of this beautiful village. And if Mark wants that old police station and court, I don't think that we should have village offices in that building. It looks atrocious. And if Mark can take it and fix it up as an art center, I say go for it. So I guess that's where I'm coming from in this. I think that that's what, if somebody wants to give us $4 million and we can do some of that, I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, I'll tell you, the first thing I thought of when I saw this, Donna, was village offices. It really was, because it's such a gateway and such a representation of your village ultimately. And we've gotten to so many different fights about how to handle it. But here's a pool of money that would at least get us a long ways to getting it populated. And I said, it says in the grant itself, getting upper story vacancies filled is a huge idea for it. And for that building, why not try to get some offices or something upstairs from us and collect rent, get some more employment that way in the community, et cetera. So by all means, I think you're 100% dead on there.
As David said, take care of that faceless lion that's on the outside of
Yeah.
the building. If you get rid of him or give him a new face.
Thank you. Anybody else inside? Christine, I think your hand was up.
Yes, Christine Fitzpatrick, 31.
Good and loud for me, Christine, if you can.
Christine Fitzpatrick, 31 Chapman Street. I want to support the concept of using this or having the library be an anchor project for this grant. And I think, you know, there are people within this village who their only source of internet connection is the library here. And obviously we need to see it improve because we all just went through this where everything crashed and burned. The other thing I think of is the facades. A number of the facades are in bad shape. And need to be improved on both Front Street and Milton Avenue. The thing that, and certainly Wiswell Park, the thing that I worry about, and it's not sexy, it's not attractive, you know, what I worry about is in the central business district, what's underground. I am always worried about water and sewer pipes, and I'm always worried about stormwater. And I don't know if there's a way to address this.
Not with this money.
Not with this money,
yeah.
but it's just something, because that you know, if the streets collapse, that's going to have an impact on everybody. So those are my concerns and my thoughts. The other thing is, I have to say kudos to you for taking this up and trying to get this grant. Everything is always on a very tight deadline, always. That's what my husband would have said, that's the gig. The other thing which comes under that's the gig is working together. And I think we're losing sight here with some of the comments that, you know, there was some of what people are reacting to is a proposal H here, or which you have said is going to be withdrawn. Okay, so I think, you know, that's good. Obviously, you were responding to some concerns that people shared, but I think we have to always remember that what the public really expects at all times is for people, for you to work together and work cooperatively. But I think this is an undertaking that is very worthwhile, and as I said, kudos to you for taking it up, and I'm sure you're ready to lose your mind over it, but what can I say? That's the gig.
Just in disclosure, just so you know, no on infrastructure with respect to roads. The things that are kind of borderline that we're not 100% sure because it's not well defined is the sidewalk issue. They sort of don't address it, but say, okay, maybe brick line crosswalks would be something in terms of beautification of downtown approach. And so you look at it, you're like, well, where do you draw this line, or where's this line being drawn? And so it is a little confusing in that respect. And it's the first time that they've done Europe Forward. DRI was a $10 million, and it still is a $10 million approach for bigger cities, where you probably could have put that money toward it ultimately. one of the concepts that we've been told in our planning discussions with the consultant was putting a pool of money aside and essentially acting as a secondary grant mechanism inside your own village for the businesses that want to do refacading or something along the lines of bettering their space to get rid of vacancies or create employment opportunities, et cetera. So I would love to see personally, but we'll see what the committee has to say about this, a chunk of 20% set aside for that purpose. And, you know, if we get fortunate enough to be in a position to hand out that money, create a group to figure out who gets what and how and what the process would be. But there is definitely an amorphous level of how this works in that application, but clearly underground piping and you know, all the conduit and everything else, no. And roads, no, because that's what trips money.
Did you ask that?
It's specifically in there.
It actually is, and it says, it uses the word infrastructure in the application, but then it refers to things like broadband and green infrastructure and street improvements.
Correct.
But it doesn't say.
We did ask actually in one of the
so you
meetings.
did ask.
We did ask in one of the meetings. I do remember that. Yes.
Well, because there is other grant sources.
Yes, in CHIPS money. Yeah.
For that.
Chrissy, go ahead.
Yeah, I just have one other question.
Sure.
I know that the committees are working and they are providing input, and I understand, I get that process. Who is going to, what is the plan of who's going to sit down and pull all of this together and, you know, get it into one package?
Bernadette's been working nonstop on this, and so she's probably the best person because she is the one kind of doing all the reaching out and making sure everything goes. I'm helping her where she needs help, or if she asks me for something, happy to help out, but she's been the backbone of this whole thing.
I write for my job, my job to write, so I would be very comfortable writing it, certainly with input. By the way, I'm back from Mr. Duncan. Speak louder.
Yeah. True.
But I just so background to the public, the information gathered by the team is something I will aggregate and write around, and yes, write a vision statement based off of the questions from the questionnaire. You know, nothing that will be written will be coming from a vacuum of no input. So I'm looking forward to working on the committee with that, and certainly talking with you all about that. And what I said too softly is I heard from Chocolate Breakfast that's a call from tomorrow. So
I know one of the things that you do in writing grants is getting those letters.
Yeah.
Before, and it's actually one of the headaches.
Oh, actually, I think that might be the easier part.
Yeah,
So
yeah, this one, everybody's been more than welcoming on it.
Beth Walsh and Jim Tedesco are like, yep, absolutely. They're excited about that we're attempting to do this. And I know if you get, I believe Frank was reaching out to Town and Milton. If you guys want to reach out to Mr. Connolly, that would be tremendously helpful.
You have a sample?
I can draft one and give you one. So, yeah, and you know, really kind of excited about this.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, I'm going to attempt to get one from Mayor Kim because I think he would agree with the notion that a strong village of Ballston Spa downtown is a strong city of Saratoga Springs downtown in terms of the gateway effect that would exist between the two. And I've got lunch I have to take him up on eventually here after Ballston Spa beats Saratoga in football. So I will bring it up at that point in time. 2-0. That's all I got to say. Right.
Just want to say that part of my input is going to be looking at accessibility to not only the sidewalks, but the stores, the businesses, all of that. Very few, it's an old town, very few have any kind of an access where someone with any disability or just those of us that may be over 25, 30 years old.
Barely.
Barely. But you have a large element in this village that are elderly and or senior citizens or whatever the catchphrase is right now. We need accessibility. We can't necessarily climb up a whole bunch of stairs to get a place. We may need accessibility for a wheelchair, and it's not just based on age. It's people with any disability may need to be able to get into these places. The diversity of the products that we're selling in the village.
is super important. What's going to draw somebody into the village? You know, you got to have those kind of businesses, and it's got to be told to the people that are driving through. Hey, look down here, business district. Okay, those little signs like that. You know, if you're going into some of these towns in upstate New York and you see business district, that's where we may find a restaurant. Little things like that, little signs. Secondly, I've been mentioned a number of times, as has Dana, that we will be more than happy to hear from everybody here. I just want to make sure that you have my email. And if you would pass these down, there's 4 of them for each of the trustees. Frank, I know you know where to find me. Bernadette knows where to find me. I think everybody else knows where to find me. But if you don't have my email, you can send it there, or you can send it to the same email address at Gmail. Either one, it'll get to me. And I would love to hear what your input is so that we can get it together when we're working on the committee and then get it all back to you.
And it's one reason why we're using the visioning session from the Comprehensive Plan Committee, because a lot of that discussion about diversity of businesses, et cetera, was definitely talked about throughout that session. So something that we definitely agree, and that they agreed, everybody that participated about in that. So we'll be definitely able to use that to further that point. Anybody else in the room? Anybody on Zoom want to talk about New York Forward? I have a hand. Well, Courtney Ellis. Courtney Ellis. You are allowed to talk, so go right ahead.
Thanks. Can you guys hear me okay?
We can. Go ahead now.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Courtney Ellis from 68 Chapman Street. I just wanted to thank all of you for taking this grant on. I know I've written a few in the past, and it is certainly a bear, so kudos to you all for putting this through. I wanted to not take too much time, but support Andy's statement and really plus wanting the idea of improving the library as someone with accessibility needs in terms of a young family. Strollers is something that's really present in my daily life, and having a place to take the kids in the winter months when we are experiencing these 2 of these 4 seasons we get would be lovely to have a space to take the kids and really work to find this meeting spot in the library and have a nice central location for families to go and for community mixed use space. So definitely +1 to that idea, and really excited to see what comes of this. So thanks for your time tonight.
We definitely want to know, I think, because the library can get sales grants, et cetera, and it would be good to know what level that will offset what, let's say, their phase 1 is going to be from that plan, so that we're not committing too much funding to the library, but make sure we got sufficient so they can get done what they need to get done. And I don't have the answer to that, so we'll ask the question.
The advantage is that they do have access to another source of funding, and that strengthens the application. If we can say, we plan on going to sales funding, I don't know what the percentage is.
And we'll ask.
And we want to use the New York forward money to fill in the gap, and therefore, you know, that they don't have to raise as much, or they could do more phases. So
the open question that we'll get back to Andy on, this will probably be one of the best ones, or at least we'll talk to Andrea about it ultimately. Want to go back, see if anybody else on Zoom has any more to say. We currently have no hands. So last call on Zoom, last call in the room. Otherwise, we'll move on to our normal public comment number 1 in a moment. Let us move on to normal public comment.
Second, I'd like to ask just a couple of questions.
Okay.
One,
sorry.
When is the committee planning on meeting? Just be nice to know that they work for the schedule. And then really, can we agree on a date when we will see the project list, the proposed project list?
Well, I know that the breakout team, there's 3 of them. They're working in various different ways. Some of them are meeting in person. I think like the quality of life is meeting tomorrow. Jobs is meeting tomorrow. I can get further details because it's relying on their scheduling. And I think some of them are really only able to provide written comments.
So, I mean, that's not basically is when will we see a list?
So I think what's feasible, and this is kind of what I was targeting for in the first place. I think 19th seems possible, because I asked for everybody to do their study and information gathering by the 15th. I think 19th is feasible.
I've set aside some time to help it right too, in case.
I'll be working on it kind of concurrently.
Yes.
So you'll have a draft?
I hope I will. If not, I will let you guys know.
But I mean, I know you're proposing a workshop the 21st, but that seems pretty tight to the deadline. If we have a draft.
Well, you can begin talking by email about things that might be absolute non-starters between the 19th and the 21st too. There's nothing precluding that.
Is there like a shared shared email to send ideas to the committee, or how do we communicate?
So far, I just put my village email on there, and I've been disseminating anything that I have received. I haven't received anything. If you guys are comfortable with that.
Can you CC, so if there's questions about our ideas? I mean, it's fine to talk to Ray, he's one person, but if you want to share our ideas with the whole committee.
Oh, no, of course we would. If you have sent something to me, I always will share something with the whole committee, that whole team of people working, because.
But I do have ideas. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. I saw, thank you for giving input. I saw that you gave input on the survey.
I wanted to see what was on the question.
I think what he means is to put committee members' emails in the CC so that if there can be an open communication and isn't necessarily him going through you going there and back.
That's so misunderstood. I'm doing ICON this week, so. But no, that seems fine.
I just want to state that I'm very much in favor of us applying for this. It's just, we do have the fiduciary responsibility, and the sooner we can see, I think the feedback from the committee is excellent. Using the comprehensive plan, visioning information. I do think it's based on experience.
Feel free to reach out.
Yeah. It's that you are on a very, very tight time.
I also wanted to be clear, I am very happy working on this, and I want to apply for this as a village, and I thank you for spending all this time on it. So we're up here to offer, because I've done a lot of grant writing too, and we are here to help you make this successful. So
public comment number 1, guys. Let's go to it. Anybody in the room with public comment for anything period? Change that. So. Judy,
it's just so minor compared to everything else.
remember your name and address again for Carol.
Judy Esposito, 48 Chapman Street. About the pedestrian crosswalk at Doubleday Woods. We go in there, I go in there probably about 4 times a week. And the past 2 cars that we've actually developed a problem that I swear is because of those bumps. But
hopefully in a few weeks we can get that taken care of for you.
Good. As far as the crosswalk there, and you said that the DOT said that there was no accidents, from 2011 to now.
That's what they said, yes.
Okay, well, the woman I helped at Doubleday Woods, she had an accident right there. There was no crosswalk. It was about 3 feet past the driveway. And she was hitting, she had a rod in her leg and stuff, and was in rehab for 2 months. That was in 2014.
So Judy, that would be good if we could get her actually or you could write a short letter, you could sign it just saying, I was hit. Because when I talked to the residents, they also said a lady was hit. They thought 2 people were hit, but they knew one person.
Right.
So I'm not sure when
I'm her power of attorney, so
I could Frank read that. I was like, there was something.
Yeah.
I mean, I think she should provide that, but
I don't think it's going to change the equation.
It's not going to really change the equation.
No, they're going to start with the signage approach, then maybe work their way up.
there is a bus stop there and across the street. So, it's just, it is a busy, it's not only Doubleday residents.
It's a double state route. Let's not kid ourselves. It's 50 and 67 crossing.
But they because of the bus stops.
It starts from 40 to 30 basically in that zone. So you're not really sure until you get to the next stoplight where you are exactly in that, but it's 30 once you get to the village. Yeah, because in town of Ballston before that, it is 40. So that's the weirdness of that road. Anybody else with, yes, Ellie.
I gotta go home.
Ellie's gotta go home. That was what she declared.
So
I wasn't at the last.
Hold on, you gotta give me your name and address.
Lee Dillon, 116 Malta Avenue.
Because Carol Beals will be, you know, all over it.
Yeah. Hi, Carol.
Hi, Carol.
Yeah. I wasn't able to attend the last village meeting, and I would like to add to your list of thank yous for family funding. I like the fact that you recognized the former mayor's efforts of supporting village events, but you left out the originators of village events. In 1984, the BSBPA was created, and one of their charges was to bring people into the village. And they have presented events in this village for 40 years. And I wish Dana was here for that. But the biggest shout out goes out to former trustee Noah Shaw, former mayor and trustee Christine Fitzpatrick, and present trustees Cormos and Raymond for their hours of work and dedication in putting the village back on financial footing so events like this family fun day can be funded and supported by the village. So a big thank you to you guys. I think that was sort of lost in everything. The National Bottle Museum, I'm switching roles now, would like to thank Mark Bleck for his setup, his clever games, and sand bottles. These activities were extremely popular, and his attention to detail was recognized and appreciated by the museum, so thank you. Okay, now, the sponsor banner displayed was an appropriate thank you to the large donors. That was fine. But the oversized political banners on display for Tedesco and Walsh, these were totally inappropriate. Family Fun Day was a nonpartisan event. The perception that was given is that at the very least, the village of Ballston Spa supports these political candidates in an election year, or indirectly, the village is funding the campaigns with in-kind publicity. This is village property, and absolutely no oversized personal political signage should have been displayed at the Iron Spring. And I feel that the committee and mayor sort of stepped over their authority on this. To succeed in the future, please make the village events free of partisan politics. Okay, thank you.
Not sure where the mayor got tied into getting sponsorships because he didn't, but I will ask you, Belly, one question. Do you support a political candidate handing out palm cards at a 9/11 event last night?
We're not talking about that. Was inappropriate. I don't. That was inappropriate.
I'm glad you said it. I'm glad you said it.
Partisan.
I just want to make sure that we are on the same wavelength in that as well, because that was.
But that's not what I was.
That was an absolute, I think, and there are other things that are interesting.
I want to focus on the village.
Well, he was in the village at our ceremony. Go ahead.
Gina Morosi, 10 Old Glory Way. Ellie? Yes.
Gina, to us, not to Ellie.
To the board.
Thank you, I got it.
Who can relate to Ellie? Thank you, Liz. Those banners were hung to thank every person that came to me and donated large sums of money to our event.
Ellie, no, Ellie, no, Ellie, no, Ellie, no, Ellie, no, Ellie, you can't.
But she can't.
Ellie, yes, she can, because it's her 3 minutes. Yes.
I think it would be appropriate for us to form a policy.
Liz, can she finish her statement actually?
I didn't know you.
No, she was continuing.
When we were putting this event together, I was approached. We didn't ask. We accepted the donation to make this event happen, because if I didn't get these donations, Ellie,
this way, Gina.
If I didn't get these donations, the event wouldn't have happened. That event wound up costing in the neighborhood of $20,000. The village gave us $8,500. I accepted their donation on behalf of them. They were told they got a banner if they hit a certain level. That was their banner. Just like my parents did it, just like, oh, Donna didn't want a banner. That's a whole other story.
Thank you, Donna.
Thank you, Donna.
So that was what it was. It wasn't about politics. No one else came to me. The people that came to me, I am speaking. The people that came to me and offered help, I accepted. And because of that, that's why we had such a spectacular event. So no, it wasn't political. I didn't care where you came from. I didn't care who you were. If you were willing to assist with this project, exactly, I'll take your money.
Exactly, I agree with that.
And you are done talking.
Okay.
Good God.
There will be a public comment number 2 for all retorts and excitement. You're at 1 minute and 45 seconds with 1:15 left.
And therefore, as I was saying, it was not political, and I was not going to turn down that money. I don't care what you say. That's it. And there's no policies about politics donating to the village. That showed their support for our village, not our support for them.
Thank you. Next. No, on the public comment too, you can know.
Oh, I'm not staying away.
Oh, right.
One of the
Name and address.
Name
and address.
Oh, right out in 16 Middlewood Avenue. One of the motions tonight has to do with policy that is very long and complicated about committees. One of the things in there that it says is that it should be posted for, I believe, 10 days, if I read it correctly. In a situation like we have right now with this particular grant, if we had gone with that policy, none of the committees would have gotten anything done. Committees can be comprised of whoever, and these committees are all over the board. There's no one group of people. There's no one political party. There's no, you know, it's not male or female. There's nothing, it's comprised of residents. And I think that that particular motion really complicates a whole process. And I know I'm going to be told that, no, it just defines it better. And, you know, Liz, you just mentioned that as soon as somebody said something about a sign, well, we should have a policy. We don't need a policy for every stupid thing that this village does. Sometimes you just go with it. If Tonko or what's his name, the President Biden. Another guy, I couldn't remember.
Just keep going. Just keep going.
If they gave us that amount of money, they would have a banner there also. If they offered to give us that money, their banner would have been there. It was Community Emergency Corps put a banner up there. And there's people on both sides of the fence. So it doesn't matter. We don't need policies for every little thing that this village does, because then it's going to be, somebody's going to violate something. We know we can't do that. You know, the political signs are out there in the fall, and oh, he left that up 2 weeks longer. This one split it in half, so he had 2 signs. You know, it just gets bogged down in the minutia. It really, really does.
I don't think county fairs would exist without that type of offering from those folks and their programs and their banners, et cetera. That's all I can tell you. But
that's what they give us. That's what we think.
Anybody else in the room? Chris. No, I did it again. Sorry, Bill.
Chris Buke, 6 Killing Drive. To sort of piggyback on what Ray was saying here with motion K. I find it very concerning when there is a structure put in place that governs the forming of committees. I'm very big into volunteerism, and sometimes it's very grassroots. It's just a group of people sometimes coming together, calls a club, calls a committee, calls whatever. We have a common concern. We don't care politics, religion, whatever. We just get together and be concerned about an issue in the village. We want to meet because you only have so much time to convene. And unfortunately, sometimes, and I'll just get completely honest, these things go on way too long. The seats are starting to empty. And unfortunately, there have been some great opinions, some great feedback, some great public comments from people who probably would have stayed and been more than happy to share it. So whenever anything gets regulated like this, and school boards are starting to do this now, where they're trying to say any group that comes and addresses them has to be prior approved by the board before they can come and address them. And that's sort of what I'm getting from this. If any committee wants to get together to improve this village, it has to go through a process, right down to structured and how many days to get approval, letters have to be submitted, I have to give my background and qualifications on it. I run a group outside of this, 1,000+, and I have people all over the board, all kinds of qualifications and all kinds, I don't care. Just give me something you want to see an improvement in the county. You want to see an improvement in your respective village, your respective school in New York State as a whole. So I'm just a bit concerned with this being put on there because it sort of seems like an oversight and control being placed on committees. I'm a little bit more old school when it comes to the democratic process, to where you really answer to us. We don't answer to you. We don't need approval from you to put together a committee. We should be able to do that grassroots style and report to you. Hey, this is what could happen with this grant. This would benefit our downtown. This is what I think would get you a better, I've written grants too. Here's where I think you could put this in the grant and you have a better standing as competition with every other village or hamlet that is applying for that grant. So again, I wanted to address that. I do also like to thank things I will say that this board does wonderful. You may bicker, you may argue, things may go on for hours, but literally when it does come to stepping in and helping those committees, even if it's getting right down in the dirt, cleaning up weeds, you come together for that. I would just like to see a little bit more coming together at these meetings, which I started to see a little bit. Hey, we're going to do this grant. Maybe you can reach out to these representatives to get some approval or help with getting the grant passed. So that's just my 2 cents. Just wanted to throw that out there. But again, I would really consider this motion here for performing the committees. That would just be setting a bad precedent. Especially on raising my children to become more civically involved, and if they have to write a letter and wait for a 10-day approval process and have a list of qualifications that may or may not qualify them to form a committee, that's not really encouraging civic engagement. So I just want to throw that out there.
Thank you, Chris. Anybody else in the room? I see one hand on Zoom. Keith, go ahead. Keith, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Keith Lewis, 38 East High Street, Ballston Spa. I first don't want to take away at all from the success of Family Fun Day. I heard great things. It was wonderful to hear everyone talk about the experience and to talk about what went on, what was moving. Again, I want to remind that maybe it would be great to videotape that so that it would be archival, could be used to promote it, to promote the village. But I do want to say that not every sponsor is right for every relationship. And I think when the village gives money to an event, it should be an event that welcomes everyone and makes them feel comfortable and doesn't in any way send a signal that would set off alarms or make them feel like maybe this is not what they thought it was. Everyone should be able to enjoy it wholeheartedly. And just as I wouldn't want my children going to school and seeing that McDonald's sponsored the cafeteria, or your yearbook was sponsored by a tobacco company. I think there are certain sponsors that aren't appropriate for every relationship. And I think if the village is giving the money to anything, I think it's important to set down some kind of guidelines of saying, hey, we need to make sure that all of our residents feel included. And we don't want to alienate anybody. And I think that's what Family Fun Day was about. And I think that's very important. I also want to caution on legislating the rules on committees and so forth. But I think that the objective by which it came was really about saying, hey, we need to work together. And if we're not going to work together, we need to set down some parameters. And I think what you're hearing from everyone consistently is that we we have faith in you, but we expect you to find common ground and not alienate one another and not keep one another from being part of the process. There are 5 of you that are intelligent and gifted. You all have resources available to you, different resources. And that's what a board, that's why it's so exciting, and that's why boards are so effective. And so I caution on legislating, but I would ask that the board commit to do better and to include one another more and to be more transparent and to understand that you've got resources there. Liz does have the most experience grant writing, and I think it's wonderful if she would get involved. And I think you guys have all the components to be successful.
20 seconds.
I think you've got all the components to be successful. It's just a matter of fine tuning the way that you do it. And I think that you can do that by working together. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else in the room? Christine was first, yeah.
Okay, Christine Fitzpatrick, 31 Chapman Street. I'd like to speak about this motion K, and I think my observation is that governing is it's a learned process. It's a learning process, and certainly it's daunting to know how things work and how, you know, different rules apply in municipalities and states and federal, and people get very frustrated many times with the process that happens in government. That's all, it's a learning process. We would not have, I think one of the reasons we have this is we have this proposal is because the committee which was picked to do the New York Forward Grant was picked without input from everybody else. Now from other people. So I'm not going to beat. Nobody's saying anything bad about the committee. Nobody's saying anything bad about anybody who was on it. But I don't want to beat that horse to death. But I think that's one of the reasons why we have this. But I agree that we have to be very careful about actually legislating this and making it so arcane that we can't function. You know, I don't know if just saying that we're going to do better next time. We're going to be more inclusive. As I said, it's all a learning process. And I'm assuming that everybody in this process is a person of goodwill. And that's what you want. You want good for the village and everybody else. The other thing that I will say about, and I just have to, because Ellie can't say it, so I'm going to say it, about the political side. I think the point is that that as people and as personal donors, people who gave you money were included, and not in their position as politicians. And you can say that you don't care, you'll take money for anybody, and you can make that kind of statement, but this is village property. This is municipal property. It belongs to me, it belongs to everybody in this room, and there are rules around, or should be, about politicizing that village property. And I think that was the point. Did I get that point? Yes.
I hope so, because your 3 minutes are up.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Bob.
Bob Bush, the New Church Ave. I just wanted to express my concern for looking about the committees. I think that's what Chris was saying. To me, this is a little far-fetched. You're trying to control things, at least the way I kind of look at it. And one of the uniqueness about this village is that the mayor's responsibility is appointing the committee. And ultimately, you guys have this process already in place. You guys have to approve the board. We have the board, approve the committee. Even at this last committee, I don't know what conspired there. I really don't want to know. But ultimately, in the beginning of the mayor, every year, he makes appointments from this committee, that committee, and you guys approve it. Why are you trying to, in my opinion, you're trying to micromanage it by having this process, and you're not gonna get many people that's gonna volunteer for it because you have to go through all this crap. Some people that are on these boards or these committees, you're asking for special, the way I look at it is you're asking for special qualifications, so you can nitpick whatever one you want. Hopefully you can do the same thing when he makes the recommendations at the beginning of the year, not the fiscal year, because the election year. So to me, you're kind of, you already have this process in place. It's a tradition that we have in this village that the mayor does this. Doesn't matter what the mayor is, what political party mayor is. It's been happening for I don't know how long. To make this on paper like this, you're over legislating this. It's a wrong word for it, but you're overdoing this thing. It's just, it seems like it's controlling me. Okay.
Mark
Black on Thompson Street. Regarding the banners that were up and the taking in the money, I do hear what Christine, what you're saying, and Ellie, what you're saying. You know, if the village had given us enough money to, you know, throw the event without asking for donations, because not only, I mean, I understand that there was someone was actually upset about that we had the National Guard there and the National Guard banner. Well, they gave us money too, so but someone was offended by that because they're anti-military, and that's acceptable. It's acceptable to be that way. We had to take money. You know, none of these people are evil. They're not the Klan. They're not, you know, hate groups. But in it, you know, again, we have to be very, not, I don't want to say draw a different line, but if you guys want these events, you can't tie our hands behind our backs to make it happen. I begged you guys for money and you said no, so we have to go where the money is. The organization that gave us the money was the campaigns. The banners didn't say vote for, they just said Meredith Walsh or Jim Tedisco. I mean, I don't remember exactly which the banners say, but they were not hate speak, they did not. So again, if you want to make these rules, then you have to give us a solution. You know, there's just so much money out there. We're begging for money. You know, so I don't know what else to say.
Anybody else? Okay. In the meet,
we respond just because so late people are going to leave to these particular comments because it's going to be.
It's your prerogative. You can wait for board comments, questions, concerns. Up to you.
Just I'm afraid everyone is going to leave before that. But just quickly, just a couple of things. So as far as the banner, I mean, it is theoretically possible for someone to get money and not get a banner. Like they have that choice. Politician or somebody, they could donate. It doesn't keep them from donating. If they're really exclusive, no, I know, but politicians too. You don't have to get, you know, they could do it out of the goodness of their heart, but I know that more likely to get a bigger donation to get the banner. I also thought it felt inappropriate. It's like, oh, this is Republican village, like, you know, like not for everybody. This funded. I think maybe there's a way to thank everybody, even politicians. Maybe it's in a program, for instance. But it felt like it was not appropriate to have it in a big public space like that. That's my personal opinion. And they could still get this even without if they don't. So that's my thought there. In terms of, we'll talk more about the committee thing, but just briefly, one idea behind it, the motion is to open it up actually by telling people about, oh, there is a committee. We want to hear who's interested. And the letter doesn't have to be much, but it doesn't say I'm interested. This is why I'm interested. But it's half of the purpose of that is to actually make it more democratic and more accessible for people.
Okay, can I jump in here and say that while some of you were talking, I worked with Carla to figure out we could do a consent agenda on most of the things that are before us tonight in motions. With being withdrawn are E, F, and H. E and F because we did not get a final number on the fire vehicle. E and F go together. H because of the discussion earlier about New York Forward. So we are going to, I'm going to seek a motion to approve a consent agenda containing the following motions: A, B, C, D, G, and J. Can I get that motion?
Make that motion.
Trustee Raymond.
I'll second.
Trustee Fondanza. Any discussion or need to remove?
We'll go through that consent. I think that might be something to consider in the future.
We actually had to have a discussion about whether we could do it for non-financial items. We're going to go with it based on what she looked up. Yep. So we're going to test it here for now. And if there's no discussion beyond that, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Let's go to I. Can I get a motion that the Village of Ballston Spa enter into an agreement with the Lumac Company for the purpose of timber management harvest for Woods Hollow Nature Preserve, and that the mayor be authorized to execute the agreement after approval by the village attorney of any necessary minor modifications to the attached agreement?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Fondanza.
I'll second.
Trustee Raymond, discussion.
Do we have to have a bid?
We attempted to get multiple bids. We got 2 that you saw in the package. The third one did not submit, and this is a limited operation type of mechanism. So we did as well as we could with this one. You could see a definite margin between the 2 that we saw there. And Lumac also has history with Woods Hollow, which is a kind of a bonus, I think, in this. I think they were the last ones to do it 24 years ago based on their records.
How does the finances on this work?
They will go and eventually cut the trees. They will go to lumber companies, get slips back from the lumber company, and that use that as an accounting system, and then pay out based on those slips based on the pricing you saw in the contract ultimately.
And just to remind me what it's like, they mainly take a percent, right?
Yes, they do. Jennifer, do you remember the exact percentage?
Just wondered.
They know we don't want the whole thing cut down.
Correct. You're not deforesting. Bob, I've gotten to sit down with him twice. He's extremely conscious and wants to make sure that future growth is key here because, like I said, he's got a personal attachment to this, having done it before, so he knows the ins and outs. Doesn't mean always that the smallest tree goes. Sometimes you take out the big tree to save the small trees, type of scenario when light's not reaching, etc.
Do you have any idea of what this is going to net us?
Yes, it was in there as conservatively 60 to 70,000. Possibly up to 100, depending on a few things, obviously yield, price of lumber, whether it's disease is some of the most valuable wood or not, which you'll be able to see from cutting.
That's a good point made as an aside. We want to say if there's a big healthy tree, that's like a legacy tree, don't cut it down. You know what I mean?
I don't think anything's been actually tagged as such in that entire forest. That's 130 acres, right? I don't think there's anything.
This has been going on for some time too, so I doubt there's like 100+ tree there. You know, they've been doing harvest on that property on a regular basis.
It's just been 24 years in this case. It was a long time. A couple of things just to note that Carl had raised. One, they are directly entering into an agreement with the timber company ultimately, so it's not going to be us, which was something that happened around 2014. They will have insurance documents from both Lumac and the timber company with us. It's also insured. And they acknowledge and will follow the procedures of the Milton Forest Code with respect to this type of process. So we've clarified that. There are other things she wants added, minor contractual stuff. That's what that's referring to at the end there. That will let her do her work. I'll sign off on it as long as you're okay with these general terms that you saw in the agreement.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably too complicated, this and too late, but do we want to promote any big old growth there?
If they're alive, he's not going to cut them down.
No,
it's about dead trees or trees that are creating issues for.
Oh, I thought he's cutting down for money, and they could be.
You're doing both. Realistically, every 10 years you should be doing this. Yes, and
if I may, the Milton Code requires them to put together a plan and tells them what should and shouldn't be cut.
Okay.
Bill Lewis has been somebody walk us through it too.
In the package report, was pretty comprehensive.
Yeah.
Bob just comes across as very knowledgeable and wants to make sure that the best thing happens to this forest ultimately, and we make money in the process. Hey, great. We have a motion, a second, discussion over. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Liz, I'm gonna let you read the case.
Okay, well. You want me to read the whole thing first, or just discuss?
You are seeking a motion that the village adopt the following policy. Hit it.
Any committee, board, or other ad hoc group hereafter collectively referred to committee that is not already described in the village code, including committee boards. And ad hoc groups required the grants is convened for the purpose of generating recommendations to village boards. Or results in action to be taken by the village board shall have its membership determined by the village board as follows. Village staff publicized on the website and social media that members are sought, including the description of purpose and duties. Any potential committee member is required to provide the village clerk a letter of this excluded action and what they want to be on the committee. People have a maximum of 10 business days to be posted to respond. All village board members will have the opportunity to nominate members of the committee from those among who have submitted letters. Committee members should be selected based on committee requirements and applicant qualifications. Maximum number of people on the committee, specific members will be approved by the majority of the board. All committee boards and official ad hoc groups will follow open meeting laws unless otherwise stated in the code. To clarify, any village board member can form their own ad hoc committee, but these committees will serve no official board function. Now, the reason for this is.
Hold on. This is to name a motion. Somebody gonna make the motion. I'm gonna assume, Liz, you're making the motion.
Yes, I am.
Can I get a second? Trustee Baskin. Discussion.
The purpose of this was that frankly, that the New York Forward grant committee was not a joint, was not appointed based on the board's input, was selected by the mayor with no approval after this selected. And the feeling is, for one of the highlights of the last 2 years has been participation. The number of people participating in committees, a lot due to the fact that we applied for grants. So we and have had processes such as the comprehensive plan has opened it up to many more people. And in the Romano days, they had to beg people to serve on either the planning and zoning board. Now there's lots of people who want to serve. And if we have committees essentially selected by one individual and select those people that he knows, that limits the committee. There may be other people in the community who are anxious to get on a village board or committee. And these are the ones that are not described in the code. And it's a method for them to become involved in the government. The grant that we're applying for, Mayor Rossi found out about on July 21st when I emailed him about the grant.
Actually, Scott Ostrander emailed me about the grant, and I got it directly from the state as well.
Okay, so that was in July. Had this posting in place then, and the committee formed then, it would have been plenty of time for the committee to start their work. Most grants are posted a number of months before they're due. So there is plenty of time to form a committee. And committees were formed for the transportation grant, committees were formed for the tree grant, committees have been formed for other grants. So, and there's been committees formed for other purposes. So this motion is to open it up to the wider community instead of it being picked by one person.
If I may.
And also the fact that all committees, except where stated in the code, such as the ethics committee, will meet under the open meeting laws. Every group that is working on an issue in the village should be open to the rest of the community. Somebody hears that there's a committee on an issue, they should be able to attend that committee and see it. And they should know about that committee meeting. And that hasn't happened yet. So that's the rationale behind it.
Now, if I may. Number one, when you approve the intent to apply, You approved basically a blank form. Not approved that I had to use the 10 that you named. However, 4 out of the 10 that you named on the committee were named to the committee. The other 6 were essentially as follows, if I can remember off the top of my head here. 2 of them were additional members of the Comprehensive Plan Committee, and the instructions were to create a diverse group of stakeholders, not-for-profits, etc. So having 3 people from the Comprehensive Plan Committee violated that principle. You had, I believe, Anna Stanko, who by working for the county would not have been a good idea. She was on the zoning board. It doesn't seem to be the perfect fit under the circumstances. It's more of a planning grant than it is a zoning grant ultimately, but if we ever needed help, Anna's always there to help us. That's just part and parcel of who she is and what she does for us. Christine, you were on it. Technically, I couldn't find any connection as a quote unquote stakeholder with regard to you. So it didn't seem to mesh well, ultimately. I appreciate everything you've done for the community, don't get me wrong, but we went after stakeholders in this whole thing. And so that made that a little tough as well. I believe Spencer Tacey, I talked to him even Sunday to tell him he was named to it. He didn't even know he was named to it by Liz. So she had not pre-vetted with the people she wrote down on a public document that they had any interest in it in the first place. Rory was the same thing. I was the first one to ask Rory, and that was after that Monday meeting when it was given to us. So that was 5, and I can't remember the 6th one at this point, and not sacrifice my iPad up there to allow for filming here. But the point being, we had to make a decision on committee at that point, and you approved the intent to apply, and part of the intent to apply was to name the committee members. And so we gave what I would call a fair distribution, and realistically, I didn't care about political party favorites or anything. Karen Martell, I barely know. Nice working with her so far at the Comprehensive Plan Committee. She made the most sense. And if there were other people she wanted to engage in the Comprehensive Plan Committee, by all means. In fact, I reached out to Matt Erkling today. I was thinking about him. And just to say, hey, you might want to watch this discussion about fiber because that was his part of comprehensive plan. So, you know, Donna was on it. Who else do we have? Natalia, Ray. Oh, Dick Duffy was the other one, and he's been traveling a little bit during this month, so he would not have been really available to assist. That was the 6th one. So again, if you had asked ahead, you would have known that that would have been a bad idea ultimately. Bernadette, do you have any view on that part of the discussion regarding the committee?
Yeah, I just, again, the mayor, the way I view these government, the mayor does have some ability to appoint committees as he sees fit. And I think he thought ahead about what kind of people, not to say that you guys didn't, but you know, he thought about the type of people who would down there. You know, he told him Tina Mangino, who, gosh, if there's a person who doesn't know, you know, investment in this community and property, I mean, her work at the BFPA was great. A realtor, you know, Charlie's Lynn Elliott, and again, like looking at that community, I'm so pleased that Natalia Martinez wants to be engaged. She's a minority business owner, as a minority elected official. That just warms my heart, and I'm glad that that's included in our conversation here, her viewpoint. So I understand her, you know, there's been hurt feelings, and I think we could do better. You're right, we can communicate better. I don't think we need to legislate that. I just constantly worry about all the steps, you know, if it wasn't done exactly how, you know, some on the board expect it or want it. Well, that is meriting a motion. I just don't, I don't think we need to do that. That's at least where I stand.
Good.
So I think we're kind of losing sight of this because it's being directly linked with the New York board. And I think it's more coincidental than anything. This is something that I have discussed before with the mayor, actually early on. as this would essentially be a first phase of what I envision is creating more outreach, getting a broader spectrum of people involved. And by having this public outreach and seeking out people, there's a better, you're going to get more people because it's publicized. It's just a simple matter of the fact. And I think this is part of potentially a two-phase where, as I've discussed before, not only do we want to expand and create, get more people from, different areas of the village on boards, we also want the ability, once we have this backlog of folks who want to volunteer to be on boards, now we have a rotation process so that we can rotate new people in and get new ideas and get their take on it. And, people serve their term or 2 terms and okay, somebody else takes their position because other people in the village are waiting in line to participate. And I think this is just the initial part of it, is to create that public outreach. I don't see it as necessarily curtailing the mayor's power, because the mayor has just as much input on this as anybody else. I don't actually believe that the mayor appoints every committee because they have to be board approved. So
now if it's off the official year normally.
Right. Well,
we're not at the
right.
year.
Right. If it's not, yeah.
That's actually what Carl and I are conversing about right now.
You backfill, but I think this is good in the sense of the public outreach. I do think that perhaps there needs to be a caveat in this, is that we could forego this process if time constrained, as long as the board as a majority approves on it and say, okay, I realize it's a time constraint. You got an idea who you want for this, because you got to move. Oh, we'll let you do that.
Which is what happens, right? At the end of the day?
Correct, but this also creates a system where we have a lot of public outreach. And I think that's good.
Also guarantees transparency because of the open meeting requirement.
So the reason I support this motion, 2 things. One that's been said by you guys is to promote inclusion and participation, people who may not hear that there's a committee opening, and to promote that process. The other is that I do think that, and this is worded specifically in here, that any committee that does require village board action, the village board should be involved in the creation of that committee. I think it is a village function, a village-wide function. The New York Forward, though we weren't involved in the initial committee creation, if we get the grant, it's going to be, that committee is going to be a central piece of that planning process for years. And it probably should be re-examined how the process and formulation of that committee. Not that I think there's actually anything necessarily wrong with any particular person on here, but just it's a big deal. It impacts many different policies that the village board will have to act on. It impacts partnerships that we'll have to act on. And if we are going to be responsive to and beholden to a group of unelected people, committee, then we should, that committee should be formed in some democratic process, more democratic process. So I think this motion, through the New York Forward, we certainly recognize the timing was an issue, but it did spark the question, how are these kinds of committees, how should they be formed? And there's going to be other grant committees. There's going to be a BOA grant committee also, and there'll probably be others as well. And they should be formed, I think, the proper way is by the village board as a whole to have input on and approved by the village as a whole. So when it comes to grassroots committees, people can just form groups anytime they want. They can bring ideas to the board and we'll be open to considering. But when it's an official committee that the board needs for some official purpose, I think it needs to be instituted in a systematic way that is open, democratic, and involves all of us.
A good example would be the Woods Walk. That's an informal committee. They have no power. They're a group of citizens that came together, want to improve it, they make suggestions. But the Park and Tree Board is an appointed board, and they have certain responsibilities and certain powers. And the grant committee is an official committee. Because in the grant, the village board states that they will do certain things. And so the committee that is responsible for getting the grant done should be selected by the board. So that's the rationale. So we bring this to a vote?
Maybe not. We're trying to come to a conclusion on legality.
Yeah.
I mean, Carla had.
Okay, excuse us. We are literally on the fly trying to figure out the legality of this, because there is question about whether or not it usurps a mayor's powers to appoint, when you're not on the official year, members of committees or boards, when it's not already stated in the creation of that committee or board in code that you would have the right and responsibility to assist with it. That's the problem here. And so this is where we're having a little bit of
It's not described in Don's code. That's not the committees that are already.
Right. This is not a public law that you've suggested here.
Well,
Liz, I get that. The question is, should it be a public law or not? Carla.
Carla did review this.
Okay, stop, please.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry, but it is like 11 o'clock, so really? Carla's a little tired. So you have to excuse Carla for a little bit here. Liz, you did send it to me. And I said, this shouldn't be a motion, it should be a policy. And I did say, I don't think it's necessary to have it as a policy. We had that conversation, but go ahead and put it on for one. Because I don't know any other place that has it as a policy, but that's fine. What the mayor is, and I are passing notes like we're in class together here about something that I hadn't thought about, is whether it, with respect to the way a mayor can appoint a vacancy, for example. If you have a vacancy on not your park and city board, but a vacancy on one of your other committees, he has the right to appoint during when it's not during the official year.
But does that cover everything?
Well, hang on. With respect to like a committee that's already in existence, I'm having issues with these new committees, and you and I did have this conversation about how, committees come up, and do we have to have, you should have public outreach and get people, but it doesn't need to be codified, and it shouldn't, be that specific. As we're sitting here talking, I found the opinion from the Attorney General. Granted, it was back when I was 7, but
you're like 29, so it's okay.
It talks about how mayors have the right to have advisory committees. Mayors don't need anyone to give, and I don't need to have my back either. They're allowed to do that. They can't have advisory committees and then let those committees use village property without board approval. That's how far I've gotten on Westlaw right now. So I would request, if possible, that I look through this to see if it addresses the mayor's concerns. Because I just don't know. I hadn't thought about it, and I'll own that 100%.
And I own that. I didn't consider something until I reread the first part of it to see that it actually could have an effect on mayor's powers. Period.
So the concern is with the vacancies.
Well, no, my concern is, honestly, my concern is I want to talk to NICOM too, because I'm sure if any other village has ever done this, they would know about it. I can only represent some of the municipalities. So, but do that. To the point though, again, as I indicated to Liz, it's very specific. You can have policies for everything you want to have policies for, but it's very specific. I don't know if you want it to be that specific, but that's not my call. I guess my question would be, and my request would be, can we kick this to the next meeting and put it more towards the beginning of the motions of the next meeting.
We can do a consent agenda and dispose of most of them again.
Well,
And between now and next meeting, you're gonna give us some thoughts.
I'm gonna do that and do your 7 laws. Yes.
And the mayor is not going to all of a sudden appoint committees and then.
I can't, I have no control over any.
Hold on. Guys, please, how disrespectful is that comment? That was so disrespectful. We're here trying to work with you. I know you're unhappy, but that was unfair. That was a completely unfair statement. This is unbelievable. Then this is not with you.
Of going around.
This is not with you. Okay, fine. But Liz, that comment, that specific comment was not fair. You said the mayor's not going to appoint anybody between now and the next meeting. Come on.
Needs to be formed.
This motion oversteps executive power.
Okay. Hi, I'm the mayor, and you're talking about me like I'm not existing in this room. There's no need to do anything of that kind, Liz. Again, you have it, Liz, I'm talking now. And you have failed to answer the ideas of why the committee you proposed had failures on it in the first place. If you read the grant document, I tried to put forth the best committee using some of yours, but also being reflective of what we were required to be doing. You failed to answer an email, you failed to answer here why you're in the right on this whole thing and why I'm the devil incarnate for actually naming a committee that would be functional and allow us to possibly continue to advance in this grant process. I'd like to hear it go.
Yes, this motion has nothing to do.
You said it did.
It was caused by the process. That is why I made this motion, because the process of creating the New York Forward, I believe, needed to be corrected. I have no problem with any specific member. It's not about what I picked and you picked. My list was a suggested list. Now, maybe I made a mistake about making that public because I thought that these people would be good, but it was not an appointed list. I wasn't trying to appoint the committee. But normally in the past, the mayor has reached out to other board members for suggestions. There have been, I believe we had cases where we actually posted, and I believe that's a reasonable policy to post when we have an opening.
Liz, 10 days, we would have been in a big problem because Liz, you also state that we have to select from the people that apply. How do you know what you're going to get from an application? This is the type of committee you go out to your community and identify people that are important, that are stakeholders, that are people that you trust in a process like this. And you literally go out and handpick them and give them the honor to say, we appreciate what you do, what you contribute to this community, and please come join us because we need you. Allowing every Tom, Dick, and Harry of the village to apply for it probably is not going to get you the committee you need ultimately to succeed in this.
Well, you can ask people to apply, and then ultimately it's our decision.
In something like this.
No, that was great. We didn't have time. You could have included a little more than you did, but I don't expect this process to apply to what just happened. So for me, it's about moving forward. And I don't think it's too specific. I think it's very doable. I'm okay with tabling.
And I will look at that. And like I said, I hadn't thought of what the mayor brought up until 20 minutes ago.
And if we have to tweak this to talk about vacancies, we can do that.
From Liz Cornos on August 10th. Frank, I'm glad to see you took a number of my suggestions for this application. It looks much improved. Question why you didn't include the village is doing a BOA, which we've discussed back and forth. The Department of State looks favorably on communities who do BOAs, and there's a plus and a minus that was told us in one of the meetings about this. But Liz, you acknowledge yourself, I took some of your suggestions into the application when we submitted, did I not? Okay.
I just said this is not about the New York.
But it's about the New York Forward Committee.
It was.
It was. You said it yourself. Go back to the videotape. Let's hope it recorded.
In the New York Forward Committee.
Motion to table. Okay.
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Raymond, Trustee Baskin, all in favor? For discussion. There is no discussion. It's automatic, right? Vote all in favor. Aye. Opposed. Motion's tabled. Public comment number 2. Chris?
Not to keep anybody here longer.
Chris, if you
again, 6 Kathleen Drive. Just to throw it out there again, stuff's not going to get done if you know, there's not decisive action being taken. I don't care who's sitting in the mayor's seat at the time. That was a decision that was made that needed to be made. Now we have a chance for the grant. I spoke pretty assertively at the last meeting that a lot of stuff that we could have seen go forward with the Friends of Liswell Park could have even been stonewalled if this entire board had to be approving every little step of the way. I understand there's a set of volunteers working on village property. There's a liability there. So yes, as a group, a club, we do need to come with a plan to the board. I understand that. But sometimes things have to be done decisively, immediately. Again, I work for the state. I know exactly when these things come down in an election year, that is what it is. So take advantage of it, get that money, get the application in, but move immediately. This, unfortunately, is a stonewall. It holds up the whole process. It functioned properly when the committee met and brought what was going on to this group, and public comment was allowed to talk positively of what this grant could do for this village in a positive way. And again, this committee did, or this group of trustees did come together and said, hey, how can we work as a team to do that? But again, like we've been talking, these seats keep thinning out a little bit more and more. I gotta get up at 5:30 in the morning, but I care enough about this village, and I care enough about this money that's sitting on the table that can really help this village, that I'm willing to stay here and put my 2 cents forward, any little bit. If you're willing to hear it, any little bit to help you move forward in this and function a little bit more as a board. And again, I don't want to keep anybody any later, but I'm seeing improvements. I'm seeing baby steps, but I'm also seeing, again, a continuing pattern. So if you want the village to move forward, trust in the process. A decisive action needs to be taken at times. I've said it in the past. I worked at Tryon. A lot of what I'm seeing here happened in our facility. We could not meet DOJ requirements. There was not decisiveness because we had 2 assistant directors that couldn't get along and a director that couldn't get along with 2 assistant directors. And when the 3 of them poked their heads into every little thing we tried doing as a sanctuary committee and every other committee to try to save that facility and meet the DOJ requirements, we weren't able to. And it affected a ton of kids and a ton of staff and an entire community that relied on that business in the community. No more Tryon. It's gone. It's a weed farm now, but it had really impacted Amsterdam, Johnstown, and Gloversville. So again, I love this village, and I don't want to see that happen here because we miss out on money that normally takes the decisive action and hopefully forward thinking, no pun intended, not fixed. So let the committees do their work, report to you, table, vote on it, approve it, deny it. That is what I expect of the board. And I expect the committee to meet as a committee and put that forward as their ideas. And us as the public to have a chance to speak and put our recommendations in or why we think it would be a good idea with this grant. That's all I'm saying. Thank you.
Anybody else? Mark?
Mark West on Thompson Street. So next, at the next meeting, we'd like to, the Family Fund Day Committee would like to put forth a proposal to do the Christmas banners and the Christmas ornaments, and we'll discuss with you about asking for some money to do it. Just wanted to put that forward. The idea is a multicultural peace banner idea.
Thank you, Mark. Anybody else? Anybody on Zoom? Okay, so yeah, go have fun.
I mean, didn't we give 2,500 for the holiday stuff?
Maybe I wasn't here.
No, we did not. We withdrew that because of the brouhaha and the birdhouse and you were gone.
Budget.
For what?
For Christmas, is a budget.
From the village?
Yeah.
There's $1,000, I believe, which usually goes for redoing the Christmas lights. They usually have to buy new Christmas lights for the tree. Julia,
We'll look into it with Julia. Anything else in board comments, questions, concerns? We do need executive session. We'll take a quick, go ahead.
If we're gonna have like a workshop on your board, we probably shouldn't have like 2 presentations. Like, I think it was too much tonight. Like,
Well, I remember I moved 3 other things because people all wanted to go tonight for whatever reason. We sorted out. So I got it.
Timing, like it had to happen right tonight.
I'm going to in a second.
Anyway, so that's I'm gonna give some feedback that, given the length of the meeting, we could have just done that workshop and the presentation.
Okay, I'm setting a special meeting because Zoom expires actually tonight.
What do you mean?
All signs seem to say that Governor Hochul is not going to extend the state of emergency for COVID anymore. So that means that the ability for any trustees to appear via Zoom is gone without a local law.
Didn't we pass?
You talked about it. You've never directed any.
Yeah, I think I did. I think I said this is very important to do. We should do it. What can we start working on that too? Well, this is old.
However, I'm going to, by the powers of the rules procedures, name a special meeting on September 21st at 2 p.m. in the village offices front table area. We will allow public in there. We will also allow Zoom participation generally, which still is allowed for public, not just not for members. Yeah.
Can we talk about the day and the time?
Well, we have to do something around there. As I think where we kind of
give it like even a day earlier is helpful. So you're going to get your stuff together for the 19th, and can we do the 20th?
I hope if you want
time to consider and maybe start emailing some thoughts
before and after.
Yeah.
And so the 21st, we will try to accomplish the finalization of what the will encompass.
What needs to be changed so that any final rewrites can be done in the next 2 days.
Does it have to be at 2 p.m.?
I think it's probably the smartest move because are we going to get anybody at night at this point?
What about 4 p.m.?
I have a whole day free.
I mean, can we do it a little later in the day, so like the middle of the day? I mean, I know Sean works.
It's 2 p.m. I'm gonna have to take time off.
Well, well, we could kill 2 birds with 1 stone that day too. If you want to come in and talk about the crosswalks with Jeff before that, perhaps or something. Maybe that's the way to handle it.
Can we do 4 p.m.?
It is what it is.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
4 p.m. Okay.
Well, but because it's a meeting, staff has to be there for minutes, etc. So that's the other problem. So they leave at 4. Let's be cognizant of that at least still.
So there's some time.
Yeah. So
We've had other meetings that are later.
What about earlier in the morning?
I don't think it changes the problem for these guys ultimately.
Well, it might be better. I mean, I don't know how we're
afternoon at least.
Well, just at least it's split the day.
Yeah.
But
you can leave.
What day of the week?
It is
Wednesday. Yeah.
I mean, when's the start? Did you say?
8:30 a.m. But
8:30. It's meet at 8:30. Someone bring donuts or bagels. Well,
I don't know.
I would really say 2 p.m. is probably.
All right, 2 p.m. I'll do it best.
And again, start the conversation by email to say what you're flagging as a concern or something like that, please.
That's going to go back to the committee as well, or not?
Well, I have ideas I'd like to share.
Yeah, send them. For the love of God, send them.
We'll talk about it.
I don't know what this Chinese wall you think is put up is, but it's not there. Okay, I need a motion to go to executive session. We do have to deal with some stuff quickly here. I mean, well, listen, we can't keep kicking the can on certain things. We really can't. Can I get a motion to go into executive session to discuss numerous land issues and a couple litigation issues and a labor issue? Yes, yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Can I get a motion? Can I get a second?
Is it?
I'll second.
Thank you. Trustee Raymond on the second, on the first. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Well,
motion carries. We do not plan on taking any action after executive session, so go home. Just go home.
I want to get to raise.
I second that.
I'm sorry, we're not in session currently. No, we're gonna just turn this off. Yes.
So this has to happen before.
Sorry?
All these things have to happen.
These are my
Just so you know, I emailed Rebecca Rosito about the whole NIMS thing, said the first I've heard of that. Like a grade school thing. She said she has no idea.
EMS? EMS property? You know that? What is that?
No, NIMS, the thing that Ray was talking about.
The training.
Oh, that's where we're on here. Hi, we are back from executive session. We don't need a motion, as we said, determined last time. There is no action to be taken.
Taken an executive session.
Correct. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Now you.
I will.
Trustee Bandenza.
I will second.
Trustee Raven, by the way, the motion they're making is that vouchers 22-01637 to 22-02241 and 22-01902 to 23-00657 be approved and the meeting be adjourned at, holy cow, 11:36 p.m. Was that what the motion you guys intended?
Yeah.
Thank you. All discussion, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Have a good night, everyone.
Including the holy cow.
Frank, thanks for taking care of so much stuff. I do appreciate it. You're working your butt off. That's clear. So,
Thank you.
You having fun?
We had a lot of things mounting up.
Oh, don't forget.
No, just.
And I don't want to drag it.
Well,
Every time, you know.
Everything.